Okay. So on to the new stuff. Where did it go? There it is. So to find the vertex once it's in standard form, the opposite of b over 2a. That's how you find your x coordinate or that h value. Remember, it is hk. To find your h value, we use the opposite of b over 2a. To find your k value, you must plug this back in anywhere you see an x. Now take a second and write at least example 1 and example 2. Write those real quick. Then let's get going. Again, a is your coefficient for the quadratic term. B is your coefficient for the linear term, and C is your constant. So the directions are up here, but I want to walk you through number 1 first. Tell me what you know. First of all, does this open up or does it open down? I need somebody to tell me, and how do you know if it opens up or opens down?
The A value.
Exactly. I'm still looking at my A value. It's positive, so that means it opens up or opens down?
Up.
Perfect. So I know right away that this has to open up. Now, there's a lot of stuff here that we're going to go over, so we need to be able to bring it all together. So let's go through, and you don't have to do this every single time. Again, this is an X class, so I only want to do all of this once. My A value, my coefficient for x squared is 1, my coefficient for x is 4, and my constant is -3. So what is the opposite of B?
-4.
Perfect. Over, and what is 2 times A?
2.
So that means my x value is -4 over 2, which is -2. Remember, that's the x coordinate for your vertex or your h value. So if my h value is -2, how in the world do I find what my k value is? I just plug -2 anywhere I see an x, and I evaluate. That's it. So let's do this. When I do that, I've got y equals -2 squared plus 4 times -2 minus 3. What is -2 squared?
4.
And 4 times -2 is -8 minus 3 is at where? What's 4 minus 8 minus 3?
-15.
What? Try again. That's +4.
Oh,
-7.
There we go. -7. And again, I think you guys know that. I just wanted to give you a chance to do the math. So -2, -7. Now we already know how to graph this, but I want to take about, we're going to kind of teach this in a weird order. So my vertex is the point -2, -7, and I already know it opens up. So -1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's my vertex. It opens up. From here, you still can just apply the A value and go. Your A value, you said, was 1, which means if I take, let me minimize this real quick. If I take 1 step right, I square it and then multiply by A. So right 1, up 1. There's my axis of symmetry. So left 1, up 1. Well, what if I took 2 steps, 2 horizontal steps? 2 squared is 4 times 1 is 4. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2. So graphing, it's exactly the same. The only difficult part about this is finding your vertex. And it's not that difficult, but as you can see, there's going to be mistakes that are made. Now, again, I'm pre-teaching all of this here. Wait, you said that this opened up from the beginning because my A value is 1, right? What is my lowest point on this graph? What is the absolute lowest point? I'm only looking at my Y value. What's my lowest point on this graph?
-7.
-7. So if your graph ever opens up, we have a minimum value of -7. Now, we're going to take more formal notes, but you guys can start to think about this. We're also going to talk about domain and range. Domain, I go from arrow to arrow. So my domain, what do you think my domain is going to be then?
All real numbers.
Exactly. And what do you think your range is going to be? If this is the lowest value it is, what's my range going to be?
Y is greater than or equal to 7. Negative.
Exactly right. So you guys already know 90% of what we're talking about today. It's just putting it all together. All right? Now, let's do number 2. So in number 2, take about 30 seconds and find your vertex. And then tell me everything that you know about it. About 10 more seconds. Now, probably not the last time, but the opposite of B, what is my B value right now? What B value do I see in number 2?
8.
So what's the opposite?
-8.
There you go. So I'm not even going to mess with writing A, B, and C anymore. You guys did that in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, whatever. So opposite of B over, what is 2 times A?
4. -4.
-4. So pay attention to your signs. Again, we're in an accelerated class, so if you know what A is, 2 times A, I don't need to write out and show all of that work. If you make mistakes, then do it. So that's my X value of my vertex. So how do I find my Y value? Plug it back in. Now this one, I'm going to be a little more picky about showing your work, especially if we were in class. Do I take 2 squared first, or do I do -2 times 2 and then square it? What do I do first?
2 squared.
Good. It's PEMDAS, right? Order of operations. So 2 squared is 4 times -2 is -8. Plus 8 times 2 is 16 plus 5. -8 plus 16 is 8 plus 5 is
+13.
+13. By the way, does this open up or does it open down?
Down.
How do you know?
The A value is negative.
Because their A value is negative. Now let's put this together. I'm going to slop up. So 213, 1, 2, 13. So I'm going to slop something up like this, right? By the way, is this a stretch or a shrink? Is this going to be more steep or is it going to be wider?
Stretch.
A stretch. So it's going to look a little more like this. Now, again, we already know how to graph. That was our lesson on Friday. So I want you guys to see this again. What is my domain?
All real numbers.
Your domain on these will always, always, always be all real numbers. And by the way, is that vertex, is that a maximum value? Is it the highest value or the lowest value?
Highest.
So my maximum value, if it opens down, it creates a maximum value. What is my maximum value?
13.
There you go. So you guys can already put this together. What we're learning today is not really anything new. It's just piecing this all together. And how would I say that then? My range is going to be Y is what?
Less than or equal to 13.
Exactly right. Now, number 3 and number 4, we're not going to spend a lot of time on 3 and 4. But I want you guys to see this. Do I have a B value?
No.
No. So it's 0. So the opposite of 0 is 0. Over anything is 0. So if you ever have something like number 3, and you can see it's different, it's in bold. So I just added this to go quick. So if you ever do not have a B value, a B term, it is 0. So plug in 0. By the way, this is real simple. When X is 0, what's your Y value?
0.
3.
3, not 0, but 3, because I still have to plug it in, right? 0 squared is 0 plus 3. So if you don't have a B value, it's always going to be 0 and then C, whatever your constant is. Again, you don't even need to take notes on that. That's just going to save you time. Does it open up or open down?
Up.
All right, so let's think about this again. It opens up. So that 3, since it opens up, is that a maximum value or minimum value?
Minimum.
So your minimum value is what?
3.
3.
It's just 3. So my domain is all real numbers. What's my range?
Y is greater than or equal to 3.
And you guys are on it. This starts to become pretty simple once you see it as information. By the way, it helps a lot of people. I don't care how good you are at this. It helps a lot of people just to draw up a random drawing. Notice, I even took away the graph on this one. I wanted to see the work, see what it looked like. Let's do number 4. Opposite of B. What's the opposite of B?
0.
On number 4,
6.
it's positive 6.
Oh!
You have a B, no C term. And that's why I put these up here, because some people say, I don't know what to do when there's no C, or I don't know what to do when there's no B. It's the same thing. So opposite of B over 2A. Now, part of the reason I wanted to show you guys this, there is a little shortcut here to where you can do this in your head. When I plug this back in, 3 squared is 9. Whatever I get here, my end result, and are you guys paying attention? Because I don't want you to kind of zone out right here. You see how I plugged in 3 squared and I got 9. After I plug it in right here, my resulting answer will always be the opposite of that. Every single time. So if I plugged in 3, 3 times 3 is 9, minus 6 times 3 is 18. Notice I got negative 9. That's kind of an advanced move. I'll go back and show you this again. By the way, does that open up or open down on number 4?
Up.
Up. So my domain is all real numbers. My range is, it opens up. I'll go ahead and do the drawing. So what's my range?
Y is greater than or equal to negative 9.
And what is is that a maximum value or a minimum value?
Minimum.
My minimum value is negative 9. By the way, let's go back to that shortcut real quick. Opposite of B, you always have to do the opposite of B over 2A. The opposite of B is negative 8 over 2 times A is negative 4. So I know that my X coordinate is 2, right? I can do this in my head. 2 squared is 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. So when I plug it in here, I have positive 8 plus 5. It's just saving me from making any mistakes. That's how I got 13. Let's do it again up here. Opposite of B is negative 4 over 2 times A is 2. So when I plug in negative 2 squared is 4. So after I account for these two, negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. If that shortcut eludes you, just plug it in. All right. Now, we've already kind of taught the whole lesson here. One thing that we've forgotten to talk about is that axis of symmetry again. So real quick, I'm going to discuss the axis of symmetry in about 2 minutes. I want you to do all of this and find domain and range. So 1 and 2, real quick. Think about 1 more minute. All right. So find the vertex, tell whether it opens up or down, whether it has a maximum amount or minimum, and find it. Find the axis of symmetry and domain and range. So this is really everything that we're doing. So my vertex, what's the opposite of B over 2A? The opposite of B is what?
4.
Over 2A is?
4.
So I've got 1. Plug it back in. 1 squared is 1 times 2 is 2. So negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. Again, if that little, it's not really a trick, but it's what it always is. When I plug in 1 squared is 1 times 2 is 2. Minus 4 times 1, that's negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. That only works for the vertex. So I've got 1, negative 3. Does it open up or down?
Up.
So if it opens up, what's the maximum or minimum value? It is a?
Minimum of negative 3.
The minimum is negative 3. Now, domain and range. What's your domain?
All real numbers.
Perfect. And what's your range?
Y is greater than or equal to negative 3.
That's it. Now, axis of symmetry is this simple. So your max or min is always going to deal with your K value, right? Your X value is your axis of symmetry. So your axis of symmetry is always X equals your H value. Well, what's your H value here? 1. So in this case, your axis of symmetry is X equals 1. Again, we talked about that on Friday. Your axis of symmetry is just from 1, how far of a step over. Now we'll take that all and graph it here in just a second. In fact, we can go ahead and graph it now. So if I've got 1, negative 3, here's my axis of symmetry. It's X equals that H value, right? If I take 1 horizontal step, what is 1 squared?
1.
So H steps squared. So 1 squared is 1 times your A value. What's my A value here?
2.
2. So 1 times 2 is 2. So that means 2 vertical steps. So 1 horizontal step, 2 vertical steps. 1 horizontal step, 2 vertical steps. Well, what if I took 2 vertical steps? Or two horizontal steps, I'm sorry. What if I took 2 horizontal steps? How many vertical steps would I take?
8.
That's exactly right. So over 1, 2, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 1, 2. That's how we graph. You literally now know everything that you need to know about standard form. Now it's just practice. I know there's going to be mistakes, so now you're going to have to practice. Let's do the next one. Opposite of B over 2A. So opposite of B over 2A. The opposite of B is?
6.
Over 2A is?
No.
So there we go. Plug it back in. This one throws a lot of people off. Negative 3 squared is 9. The opposite is negative 9. When I do that, because I got negative 9, I've got 9 plus 2, which is 11. Any questions? All right, so that's my vertex. Does this open up or open down?
Down.
Because A is negative, so it opens down. So does this create a maximum or minimum value?
Max.
So your max value is 11.
11.
What's my domain?
All real numbers.
What's my range?
Y is less than or equal to 11.
There you go. Axis of symmetry is what?
X equals -3.
Perfect. You guys are on it. Any questions? Cool. Now, we're almost finished for today. Let me see. We've got these two. So, and I realize we've only got 15 minutes left. Find increasing or decreasing intervals. I started with vertex form. Let's remember, what's my vertex on number 1? What's my vertex?
3, 1.
Positive 3, 1. Now let's how this plays out. Again, you have to understand what it looks like. My vertex is 3, 1. Does this open up or open down?
Up.
And it opens up because your A is positive, right? So again, I know it's going to look something like this. Now, you do not have to graph it. You just have to know what it looks like. Again, this is nothing but information. So does this vertex create a maximum or a minimum value?
Minimum.
So your minimum value is 1. Now, we just talked about that for 10 minutes, right? So we should be good with that. But now we're talking specifically about the increasing or decreasing intervals. From left to right, and it is always from left to right. It's what's happening to your Y values. So from left to right, from this arrow all the way until here, is it increasing or decreasing? What are your Y values doing from here to here? And don't pay attention that the arrow is pointing up. Are your Y values getting smaller or bigger as I go from left to right here?
Decreasing.
Right, it's decreasing. If your graph opens up, and you might want to write this down, if graph opens up, it decreases. I already put that up here. It decreases until the vertex. Then it increases. Now, how would I say that? The interval that it is decreasing is all y's less than this y value. So it is decreasing where y is less than that x value, and I'm only looking at y is less than 3. I said wrong. Y. That's X. Sorry. I got ahead of myself. So it's always with your X values. It is decreasing from left to right. So as my X's are getting bigger, my Y's are getting smaller. That's what makes a decreasing value. And it is increasing as long as X is greater than that value. Does that make sense? Again, I understand how this is confusing. My Y's are getting smaller as my X's are getting bigger. That's a decreasing value until we get to this H value. And it's increasing from H on. Now let's do this again. Let's do number 2. Find your vertex. Opposite of B over 2A is what? Plug it back in. There you go. Any questions on that? Does it open up or open down?
Up.
So if it opens up, again, let's think about this. That's a minimum value. So what interval is it increasing or decreasing? So it is decreasing, increasing. So this is, remember, this is the 0.3, -8. So how would I say on what interval is it decreasing?
X greater than 3.
For decreasing or increasing?
Decreasing.
So she said, so remember, X is greater than 3. That means everything to this side of 3, my Y's are going down. I think you mean everything on this side of the X, right? So if it's decreasing, it's all my X's less than 3, less than the H value. If it's increasing, it's all my X values greater than the H value, which is greater than 3. Does that make sense? So maybe we can write this a little better. Let's try this again. In general, if the graph opens up, it decreases, so decreasing, X less than H, increases at X greater than H. Well, let's look at number 3, and this is really one of the last things we have to do. Find your vertex, opposite of B over 2A. Plug it back in, I get -8, so 8 minus 5 is 3. And this opens down. So let's think about this. Remember, from left to right, are my Y values increasing or decreasing?
Increasing.
So they are increasing. So on the left side of H, it's increasing and is decreasing from the right side of H. So what's my interval it's increasing? So it's increasing here at X is less than -2, and it's decreasing from X is greater than -2, and that's it. And then what's the K value? That is my maximum value. which in this case, my maximum value is 3. I know there's a lot of information. None of this is difficult, but it's tough to keep straight. I get it. So try number 4 real quick. What did anybody get for the vertex? Anyone?
One.
Can somebody verify that or correct it?
-1, 1.
Anybody else verify or correct? Let's do opposite of B over 2A, right? Opposite of B is -2 over 2 times A is -2. So it looks like it's 1 for sure. So +1, plug it back in. 1 squared is 1 times -1 is -1. Plus 2, that's 1 minus 2. It is 1, -1. I know we've done a lot. So keep your focus, one small thing at a time. Does it open up or open down?
Down.
Down.
All right. So what's my maximum value or minimum value?
Maximum of -1.
Perfect. My domain is all real numbers. My range would be
Y is less than or equal to -1.
perfect. Now increasing and decreasing intervals. My increasing interval is what? X is where's the increase?
Less than 1.
Perfect. So on the left side of this, it's increasing, so less than 1, and it's decreasing where it's greater.
Greater.
Any questions? Okay.
Wait, so why is it for increasing, why isn't it greater than 1?
Because so we're talking about the X values, right? So my X values, if I look at this, if it's opening down, and I'll just do something like this. Let's say it opens down from like, let's say that's +2. People get thrown off by these arrows. If I erase the arrows, and I just want to look at the Y values, everything left of this value, my Y's keep going up, 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 right? So they are increasing until it hits that H value. So everything less than 2, my Y values are increasing. So for instance, if I were at -10, it'd be way off the screen down bottom, right? So they're going up and up and up and up and up until it hits right here, which kind of helps emphasize that maximum value.
Yeah, I get that, but like in the red up above, it says like if for decreasing X is less than H.
If the graph does what?
Oh,
So if it opens up, then we've got a different situation, right? So I want you guys to think of it like this. If it opens up, your values are getting smaller until you get here, so left of H, and they're getting bigger as they go right of H. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Okay. Now, I don't know if we'll have time to do this. But when you convert to, yeah, we've got about 2 minutes. Converting to standard form. They're going to ask you to do this on your homework. Whenever you are converting to standard form, you have to FOIL this out first. So what this really would be, so when you FOIL it out, you don't distribute in, but let's FOIL it first. Minus 3x, minus 3x, plus 9. Combine your like terms. Distribute. Plus 5, and then combine like terms again. So they're going to ask you on your homework to go from vertex form to standard form. You have to FOIL it out first. Then distribute, and then add or subtract that constant. Now, I would not distribute that -2. Once you're in here, you could distribute the -2, but I just saved that for last, and specifically because of number 2. By the way, if you're good at FOILing things out, x plus 1 squared, that is the same thing as this, right? X plus 1, x plus 1. So x squared, x times 1 plus x times 1 is plus 2x. 1 times 1 is 1. What I have, minus 3 there? Yeah. Now distribute. Then combine like terms. Oh boy, and that would be minus 6 over 2. And I don't care if you write it as decimals or fractions, but I don't want decimals and fractions in the same equation. Now we are running out of time. I know that was really quick, especially those last few minutes. So see if you guys have any questions. Your homework is not due until Wednesday night. And I know we just did a lot, guys. So tomorrow, bring some questions and we'll finish this off tomorrow, okay? Have a great day. See you tomorrow.